Hey everyone, what's going on? It's your boy Krebsy Crypto, and for today's video, I just want to talk about mining with the GTX 1650 in 2022, and kind of like what to mine with it and what's most profitable, and what to focus on when mining with this card. It being like a mobile card, it is kind of handy to have for people that have, let's say, higher electricity rates and such. It uses a less wattage, and you can tune it down even with MSI Afterburner and make it use less wattage than it already is. So it's a very viable graphics card, and it's kind of in the range of 50 cents and higher for profit. So that's always a good mark because of hydro prices, with people paying anywhere from 10 cents or higher for a kilowatt. If you're making 50 cents, there's still profit to be made, but that's on the low end of things. That's on like different algorithms and different coins and such. But I just want to go over mining with it and what you can bring in and what to focus on with mining with it. So I've made a video similar to this before where I've reviewed the GTX 1650, but that was back in 2021, and that was kind of like a price point review and kind of looking at it as like the actual device itself. I want to talk about the coins of actually like that are mineable with this card and the profit range on each algorithm and kind of what to be focusing on with 2022 coming around and all these changes in the crypto market. And if you're deciding on the line of picking up a card like this, or if you just want to learn about more graphics cards, I'm just going to be talking about that type of thing. So this is just more of like a follow-up video to that. So it's just following up of a more in-depth look at the profit range of things. Because as years go on, times change, things become less profitable or more profitable. So there's a lot of different things to take into account. If you like these type of videos, I can even do it for my GTX 1060s as well. They're 3GB cards, so more of a budget-friendly card. But this one for a 4GB card is very budget friendly, and you're even able to mine Raven on it at a pretty good mega hash for like the power you're putting into this card. Alright, so this is just a quick editor's note since I'm editing right now. I just wanted to mention that as you see on the screen here, it is the T-Rex miner that we are using. It's not the G miner as I mentioned in the video. This is just because this is some newer footage. Like I said, I switched between the two. So I just wanted to mention that before we continued on, before anyone pointed that out and said, oh, you mentioned G miner, but it's T-Rex miner. So if we go over and take a look at my computer where it's actually mining, and we can take a look at some of the stats through G miner because that's what I'm using. I usually use T-Rex, but I just wanted to change it up. I usually switch between T-Rex and G miner. I find G miner is a little more stable when it comes to like the range of the actual mega hash with my overclock, because yes, I know I'm not a fan of overclocks, but I've had to apply an overclock to this graphics card, just being a mobile one, just to pull a little more hash rate, and it's definitely worth it. It didn't end up using much more power or producing much more heat. In fact, it helped reduce some heat. So we're just going to go over that right now. So if we take a look here, I get anywhere from usually about 8.5 mega hash on this overclock that I have going on with MSI Afterburner. Or if I crank it up a little bit on my overclock, I can push anywhere up to 9 mega hash. And the standard mega hash for this, if you don't apply an overclock, and if you do roughly between like 80 to 100 power settings for percentage wise, the standard rate is about 7.13 mega hash. But if you do the overclock like I said, you get 8.5 to 9. I've seen even people push it further, and even then your heat and your power stays fairly low for it being on the Kapow algorithm. And I'm just running and using this as an example, like the Kapow algorithm in my footage here, just to show you on an intensive algorithm that this graphics card is still very, like, I guess you could say temperature friendly and power friendly. As you see, it's only running 60 watts, and that's with my power settings all set up how they are. That's only like 80 to 85% power. So even then, that's still fairly well. I could even crank it up more. And it being a little bit warmer of weather, it still sticks around 55 to 60 degrees for the card temperature. So I feel like that's a pretty solid, like, stable temperature, especially when it comes to like Kapow and ravencoin, because it's a very high intensive and high power algorithm. So if you're ever worried about power consumption and heat consumption with like ravencoin or Kapow, I could say the GTX 1650 is very viable when it comes to that, just because you can really control the power, it not being so power intensive, like not the algorithm but the card itself being normally a mobile graphics card. I say that because the GTX 1650 was originally a laptop graphics card, but then they made it into a standalone card. So it's not like your normal graphics card as you would see with like GTX 1060 even and such. You can even see it in the size of the video. It's a lot more compact, uses less power, and yeah, it's just overall a lot better of a card if you're kind of on a budget, or if you have high power rates, or if you're just starting out. It's kind of a good stepping stone. And it still allows you to kind of get into like the market of like direct mining a coin. So like I've mentioned, you can direct mine ravencoin, and you can direct mine conceal. I have a few videos, even FLUX. I have a few videos on my channel here where you can use these cards, even the 3 GB, to direct mine certain algorithms and still pull a profit. So that way, you know, it's less intensive than having like a RTX 3060 or something like that. And even when it comes down to like the money aspect of it, you can have a lot more of these for your buck. And yeah, it might take maybe a little bit more power, but I find you might have better luck just because you have more individual graphics card actually mining on the algorithm, bringing you more luck. In my theory, it's just like when you buy more lottery tickets, you have higher luck. But then again, with the like RTX and such, you have higher power. So it's all a comparison. I should sit down and do a comparison video with that aspect. But on a budget like mindset, this is definitely a good budget mining graphics card. And obviously it's not just ravencoin. It can go ahead like Kapow, it can mine. Another algorithm that's a very like profitable algorithm, and I guess you could say stable, just as in the fact as it like it'll sit around the base of like 65-cent profitability, but sometimes it shoots up to like 80 cents. So it's not stable in like that aspect. It's unstable, but in a good way, because sometimes it shoots up higher in price. It rarely ever like drops down, and that algorithm is Kryptonite GPU. I recently made a video on that with the Conceal coin, but Kryptonite GPU is going to be one of your most GPU friendly algorithms right now, even with Flux and all these other ones out here. I have ran all of them and compared all of them, and I have found even on my 1060s and such, Kryptonite, it runs smoothly, it runs the best, it gets the best, I guess, bang for your buck when it comes to all of these algorithms. And I've noticed, especially with the GTX 1650, it being like a smaller graphics card, you can say like the mobile version, it doesn't draw as much hash rate as a normal 1650 or 1660, you know, things like that. So when it comes to like the actual algorithms itself, when I use it on like Flux, let's say, so Equihash 125, I'm only drawing like 13, maybe at max 15. I forget what it is, souls a second, I think it is, or something like that for the algorithm. So really, it's not much of an impact, and I don't really like get a consistent payout when it comes to some of the pools when it's like Flux and all that. I might be able to turn to those after the shift of Ethereum 2.0 because like I said, it can stabilize over time. But so far I've found Ravencoin and like Kapow being the most stable and being the most reliable when it comes to profit. Even running it through nicehash, I found myself turning back to nicehash and running the 1650 on Ravencoin through nicehash, like through Kapow, because it brings in roughly around 60 to 80 cents. And on the high things, like the high end of things, it can bring in like 90, 95 cents, depending if nicehash is running through a high profit time. Because too, then when you're working with kind of like a smaller end card like mine, and you're kind of like, I guess you could say, squeezing profits, because there are overclocks, but with Equihash, I found, at least for my 1650, I couldn't find much of a stable overclock. It would either crash or just fluctuate too much. And then Kryptonite GPU, which is like Conceal, since it hasn't ran its full potential, it sits around like 28 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents. So if it does have a solid run and you've been mining it when it's on this low end of things, it could take off and be very good for you too, right? But also with the actual algorithm itself, it's very like non-intensive. You don't even need an overclock for it to cut like a 60-70 cent profit. Even with like higher end hydro rates, you could still easily pull, let's say if I pull up Minerstat here, and then if I put my electricity cost to like 30 cents, and then I decide to calculate it with the 1650 here, you could still pull in, let's see, yeah, you're still pulling in like 20 cents, 30 cents, or less or more, all depending on your country as well, because of conversion rate. It's just me being in Canada. These prices are in Canadian format. So when I mine in like US currency, I end up with a little bit more because of the conversion rate. But yeah, I have found the most stable to be Ravencoin, even if through nicehash. Just being nicehash consistently pays for the work you're doing instead of going through like a direct pool where you're paid per like the block that's found and things like that. Nicehash is paying for the current job that's being done. It's not waiting for the block to be found. That being said, though, I do direct mine Ravencoin with the 1650, and I use, I believe it's 2 miners, and I can pull anywhere from 8 to 11 Ravencoin within a 24-hour span. And that has gone up because of the price of Ravencoin has gone down to like 6-7 cents Canadian. So therefore, with the 9 mega hash rate, if I pushed it to that, I'm pulling in a lot more Raven. You're pretty much pulling in a Raven or more, a Ravencoin or more per mega hash at this rate. So it's most profitable, most stable. It's made its mark compared to like FLUX and like Kryptonite GPU. Those ones are just starting to take note. But like I said, after this Ethereum boom, it could be a whole different thing. But yeah, I've tried to stay on topic with like the 1650. I know I've mentioned other graphics cards and things like that, but I just wanted to narrow down the profits for actually mining with a 1650 in case you're on the borderline of getting one yourself. I picked mine up used last year for $200, so I could imagine now it might be a bit more, but with the market kind of cooling down, I would say try to get one for like $125 to $150, all depending on like where you are. If you can get it cheaper, the better, as I always say. And even if you can get like a couple of them, it's always better to get like a more quantity. I might even try to get myself more of these 1650s, just being on the low end of power but still pulling a high profit. It's a win-win for everybody because you have to sit down and break down the calculations and everything. I tried to do that, but like I said, I don't pay hydro, so for me to sit down and try to break down a certain amount of calculations, I'm not sure what everyone's paying for the hydro rates per state, per province, because I'm in Canada, so I'd want to do it for everybody. But yeah, hopefully this video helps you decide on like if you're on the border of getting one of these or like just a decision overall in mining, or if you just want to get started in it. It's a good budget card. This is the card I did start out with. Well, to be fair, I started with a 2 gigabyte card, then I got this one for a deal. But this was my first main like 4 gigabyte card where I could say, okay, I'm pulling somewhat of a decent profit. I can mine these higher end coins per se, the ones everyone is talking about. You have Ravencoin, Flux, and all these other ones. Now I can actually mine it. And like I said, I have this 1060s as well. I could do a video similar to this on those. But overall, I hope this video helped you guys and you learned something from it. Like I said, I just wanted to do more in depth about the actual profit and what to mine with the 1650 itself. But I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as it helps me out. It lets me know that you guys are enjoying the content. But I hope you all have an amazing day, and this is Krebsy Crypto signing out.